Hall, and I'll begin with the roll call. Scott Self here, Richard Lane here, Jane Johnson here, Brandon Self here, Michael York here, Victoria Ames here, and Selectmen's Rep Ken Foley, actually Sly Krasinski is not here, alternate Steve Malone, Michael Scungio alternate, Brian Vertigal alternate. Okay, and we have a quorum, so we're all set with that. The only thing on the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting. And we're just going to have a workshop tonight just for maybe go over some of the stuff on brush up on reading some of these plans, how to use some of the stuff in the plans to our benefit and advantage, and any other thing that comes up as far as discussions go. So let's see. The minutes, I don't have a copy of them with me, but has anybody read the minutes?
I did.
You have? Okay. Motion to approve the minutes as presented, seconded by Jane. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Mr. Chairman, who made the motion, please?
The motion was by Victoria.
Okay, thank you.
Seconded by Jane.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Nothing on anything. And let's see, before we get started, I know Michael York already knows this. He's up for, his term is up this year, and Jane, your term is up this year. You knew that, okay. Just making sure. Now let's get on here to, let's see, we have, there's Mount Caesar Elementary School site plan, but if that's something that's not really, looks like, let's take a look, what's the date on that thing first of all. If it's not really in the works yet, which it isn't, is it? No, this is just something that it hasn't gone, this is preliminary engineering and preliminary stuff. So let's forego that until they really have something to bring to us. We can really go over it, I think, anyways, unless someone else wants to take a look at the whole thing there. Have a look.
I don't know that they will bring it to us. They're not required to.
They aren't required to, but they usually always bring to the planning board. The planning board comments on it, and it's just they've been good about that.
In the spirit of heads up, just what's the general intention of it?
I haven't looked at them. I don't know. Do not know.
It's an expansion on the existing school, not the high school, but the one across the street.
It's part of the plan to close the school over here.
Oh.
Easy traffic over here and really triple it over there.
Thankfully, we have that roundabout. That does help.
Yeah, it's solving well. Problem is, got so backed up on.
And let's see, we had also, Stefan brought up the fact that the Plainview over here, they owe us some drawings for parking and landscaping, was part of the condition of approval. And it looks like, Stefan researched it, and it looks like that would be by June 22nd. It's like when that occurred. There wasn't one in July.
July.
It was July, okay.
July 17th.
July 17th, okay, there's another one. I thought it was July one there. There's an early one, another one. So it looks like they have until July to bring us those revised plans. That would be
I disagree a bit on that.
meaning, what?
Meaning that they have, under the conditions from February 2nd, they have, according to our site plan regulations, they have 1 year to meet all conditions for a group that we approved at that meeting. Mm-hmm. And that expires next Friday, a week from Friday.
So there were two, I haven't read those two. I read them at the time, but I haven't read it. Do you have any copies of those here, the decisions that the plan? Because there was that one in July. Yeah, do you have a copy of them?
Yeah, this is the notice that went out to Frank's on February 6th. With the conditions.
The most recent one was July.
That was on a compliance.
Yeah, but that's the most recent approval.
Our regs don't say anything about having a more recent approval. Our site plan regulations, and I'm just putting this out there, I don't, if we're going to say that, okay, we're making an approval and we're going to have a compliance hearing 5 months later, And then that's when, you know, we're gonna start the clock over again. We've got to put that in here.
Well, I don't
Because
believe the clock was started in the February one, just based off of the verbiage in the July notice of decision.
We made an approval
Mhm.
of those conditions.
Where is that in our, I'd like to.
Page 13 of, under the site plan regs. It's letter B.
If a conditional approval has been granted pursuant to
6A.
6A, which is that conditional approval can be granted if it's the administrative review discretion. The conditions need to be met within 1 year, or the approval is null and void, and the applicant must resubmit the application. Conditions need to be met within 1 year of conditional approval, right? Isn't that implied in
That's what it says. You know, if we're gonna say something different, then we need to have that in our regulations.
So we're talking about an approval in February 6th, and an approval July 17th. Now, as I recall, the July 17th meeting is when we changed or allowed them to change, however it went, the number of parking spaces and change the landscaping plan at that meeting there. So those were not part of this condition here. The February condition had no mention of the revised parking or the revised landscaping. So these conditions aren't the same as these conditions here, in my opinion anyway, because they weren't discussed.
That's what we call those compliance conditions. On the 6th, February 6th.
Yeah, February 6th. And
Which implies that we would have approved it, that our approval of it was conditional upon their compliance with those submissions, right?
well, it is, and let's just go right back to the July 17th one, which they came in for the compliance hearing on those conditions, showing that they had done all of that and had all those items there. And at that meeting is when I think we gave them the 20% reduction, reduced the parking, and also there was a change in the landscaping there at that meeting. So as a condition of that, those two things were a condition of that, for them to bring in within a year of that July 17th meeting. So those are conditions from that meeting there. So the conditional approval, pretty much the whole thing is set up so that if a person comes in with a site plan to us, and there's things like permits, FAA permits, like in this case here, permits from the state, other types of permits that they really have no control over, and the planning board has no control over as well, then they've got a year to bring those in and show that they have gotten those permits, gotten those grants to go forward with whatever they're doing there. Other conditions that the planning board sets on, like reduced parking spaces, changes in anything like that, those conditions are approved at the meeting, so they are approved conditions, but they have to bring them in to, not the planning board, but to this land use office to show that they've put them on the drawing. We've done it before at the meetings. We make sure that the conditions that we say, like a fence or something like that, are actually put on the drawings, and we want them on there because that's part of the record there.
That's sort of an administrative thing, right, where we
Where the planning board,
delegate to
yeah, the planning board
staff.
doesn't have to look at that because the planning board gave the approval through a motion once it, that's the whole approval process, is a motion and a second, and then either a vote affirmative or not on the motion. That is the approval regardless of whether the site plan was signed or not by a chairman, or whether those conditions were brought into the building inspector showing that they are on the plat or not. Building inspector just won't give them the CO if they don't bring those in. But as far as the approval goes, it's the approval the planning board made. It's still got the 1 year piece on it. What were you gonna say to me?
Okay, this is the letter that went out in February,
Okay,
okay? Down here, compliance conditions for approval. And it lists all of them,
yep,
okay? This is all part of the approval on February 2nd.
that is right. That was the initial approval, the big approval.
Okay, so part of that approval was the compliance part.
Yep.
Okay, and part of that compliance is updated landscaping plan, updated utility plan. So the criteria is listed here,
It is.
okay? And they took until July to do the compliance.
Mhm.
That should not change the clock.
Okay, so
I mean,
From my recollection-
according to what we have in our books.
and you are correct about that, but the way I recall it is that when they came in for that compliance, we allowed them we changed some landscaping on them, and they wanted a 20% reduction in their parking as well. They asked for that. After that, that was part of that hearing, I guess, but they were actually in for the compliance part of it, which were these things here, which all those compliance conditions were met at that meeting. But the planning board also approved a change in parking and a change in landscaping at that hearing there. And those conditions of that were that they put them on the plat and bring them in for the land use office to verify that they were on the plat. So the reduction in the 20% reduction, which let's see where, the revision shall show 94 total parking spaces and one additional tree on the south side of the rear, westernmost section of the building, and upgraded plantings. That was part of what was approved at that July meeting right there. So the condition that they bring it in and put it on the plat is the condition that goes with this decision here. And it's an administrative one, again, that doesn't have to be looked at by the planning board. It's a building inspector that looked at that. But again, it wasn't a part of the February 6th one because no mention of the board granting them 20% reduction or changing landscaping was at that meeting. So that was not part of that approval.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
If memory serves, when they came in July, they came in with an entirely new design of the building because they cut 2 stories off the back, elongated the center section, and cut 1 story off the front.
Was that meeting, or was that the?
No,
the
that was at
February
the July 13th meeting.
I think it was before that.
I think it was
because the July meeting was when he was gone and you ran the meeting there.
Right.
And they were fussing about the 20% reduction in parking. And we had said, well, what if we granted you that? Would you be willing to put in more landscaping in there? And that's when they decided that they said, yeah, we put in that tree and leave the area of grass where the parking was for people to like hang out on or whatnot, the people that are going to be living there. What he's saying is because you granted them that's a whole different thing. If you had said, if we as a board had denied it right then and there, right? If we had denied it, then the original compliance from the February meeting would still be in standing, but because we allowed them that 20% reduction in parking, as well as some other modifications to the landscaping, that it starts all over again from that July meeting, because we granted them that.
Yeah, for those 2 items.
And it's specific. It is a 20% reduction, and it tells where the tree is supposed to be, and so on and so forth on this one. And this was a compliance hearing. This was the end of their site plan, which the site plan was approved on. This was a compliance hearing that they came to. And those conditions were set at that compliance hearing. The board agreed to allow them that reduction, and I guess if they were going to add a tree here or there, or it's based out, set out in there. So again, it puts it, it's a compliance issue, but it doesn't, in my opinion, it does not renege that site plan if they don't bring that drawing in for Mike to take a look at. Because it's, the conditions that we're talking about for the 1 year are generally conditions like these FAA permit, New Hampshire Department, Environmental Services, DES, and all those types of things, sewer permit, access permit, approval from the airport manager, all of those things that the planning board does not have any power over, and neither does the site plan have any, or the applicant have any power over. Those are the ones that if they don't get all those ducks in a row, don't get all those permits within 1 year, then you start all over again, because you just can't string it out that long. You just have to start over again. Those are those compliance issues. The other compliance issue we're talking about here, which is the updated plan to show on the plat that we reduce the parking spaces by 20% and to show the addition of trees here or there on the plat, that's an approval. And if they don't bring in the drawing that shows that it's on the plat, then they don't get the CO, but they still have the approval. Still the approval from us. They met all their compliance stuff at that hearing, all this stuff here, in my opinion.
I'm wondering if it's the actual date of signing the plat is the relevant point.
No, it is not.
Well, it says
It says
that
that
the
in the-
approval will remain valid for 1 year from the date of plat signing.
Oh, yeah,
It does say that
on
in
that
there.
part. Yeah, we did say
Yeah.
that on that part.
So when did you sign that?
It did.
plat?
hasn't.
Oh, no, sorry.
It hasn't been signed
It
yet.
hasn't been signed?
No.
No.
Because I didn't receive the plans yet.
I know that,
But the approvals, the actual approval is when the board votes on it. That's when the approval is, and looking at our RSAs and that type, that's when it is, except that in here, they mention approval, then they mention final approval, but they don't specify the difference between the two, what's what. So there's a gray area there in the RSAs.
Yeah, I'm feeling like I could argue it both ways, which makes me wonder if this is something we should get an opinion from legal.
Yeah, we can get opinion from those guys.
You know, wouldn't we all feel better if we had?
We should, because whatever direction we decide to go, we know that this person is going to take us to court if he disagrees with us.
Yeah.
He'll be a slam dunk, he'll take us to court, or the land use board, one or the other.
Cool. I'll ask him.
Thank you. We'll be able to see too.
I just have,
Yeah, we can keep on discussing it for sure.
well, I don't mean to be.
I don't,
beating
we
it to
don't
death.
have anything else on the agenda.
Yeah, no, I
It's
just,
all night.
so an individual who has to have a compliance hearing, they can wait until the 11th month. Come to the board and say, okay, this is my compliance, and if it, but other things haven't been taken care of yet. We start the clock again when it comes in and says, okay, here's the part of it for the compliance. So we go another year.
Yeah,
I miss it.
no.
We need to,
The way I understand it, it isn't that way. Maybe it is pointing that it's that way in our site plan regs. I have to read that again. But it's generally, the approval is when the board, a motion is given and a board approves the site plan. That's when the approval is that night, that date, regardless of when the chairman signs that thing, if he does or not, or whoever signs it. And then if there's a compliance hearing because there are permits and things that they don't have that night, the planning board can still approve it, which they did. And they come in and show that they've got all these permits and stuff. They've got a year to show that. They came in earlier with their compliance hearing, but they could wait for a year for the compliance hearing. But the way I look at it, they still got that 1 year from approval, because the RSA's say from approval. That's it. It goes from that, and that approval is the night that the planning board decides it.
So we can get a written opinion, right? From, when you ask me for an opinion from legal, it will come in writing?
I can ask.
Usually it does.
Because I'm gonna need to really like work through it, because it seems me like, I mean, I think what Richard's issue is conditions.
We're
change.
talking about two different things, though. We're talking about two different forms of conditions.
No, I don't mean that kind of conditions, I mean life changes.
But really,
like-
we are talking about two different conditions here on these plats here. This set of conditions for the permits and things that require a compliance hearing, those are the ones that we're talking about in our site plan regs about the compliance part of it. The other conditions that have to be added onto the plat are conditions that need to be, like I said, added onto the plat in order for, one thing, the chairman to sign it, in order for them to get a CO from the building inspector. They can still go ahead with the project, even though they didn't issue those drawings. They can still go ahead and build a project, but it's not going to be approved, and they won't be able to occupy the building until they bring those plans in.
But Richard's point is, what if they use that extra window of time?
What extra window, though? Which extra window are we talking about? Because again, we're talking about two different types of compliance here, two different types of conditions.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
We're talking about a condition for a permit, which the planning board has no power over, and neither does the applicant, actually. But they've got a year to get all their permits, the things that aren't on the site plan. But the things that are on the site plan, the planning board approves those at a meeting, and then they're supposed to be added to the site plan at some later date, but they can still go ahead and build a project, but they won't be able to use the project until those plans are brought in to the land use board or the planning board changes. There are two different things we're talking about here. The issues with these guys here, that we allowed them a reduction in parking and addition of a tree here or there on that plat, those conditions have to be added to the site plan, which has to be brought into the land use board, and they say, yes, okay, you did add that, this is what the planning board wanted, that's fine, you'll get your CO. But again, they can still go on with the project because they still have an approval. And these guys have met this part of it, which was the compliance hearing, which is all those permits, unless some of those are running out, but they had a year to get those permits. That's what that year thing means. They've got a year to get their permits, but it isn't the same to bring those drawings into the land use board. Because the planning board,
In both the July 17th notice of decision and the February 6th notice of decision, it states the approval will remain valid for 1 year from the date of plat signing, provided that active and substantial development work begins on the site. A one-time 12-month extension may be requested no less than 30 days prior to the expiration of the approval for good cause shown. That's July 17th in the letter of the notice of decision to Mr. Franks. In the February 6th notice of planning board decision, the letter states the approval will remain valid for 1 year from the date of plat signing, provided the active and substantial development work begins on the site at a one-time 12-month extension may be requested no later than 30 days prior to the expiration of the approved for good cause shown. Now, we told them not once but twice, we or on our behalf, the applicant was told that he had a year from the date of plat signing, which you said is not signed.
it has not been signed yet, and that letter shouldn't say that. It should say approval, because anywhere in here, you'll find that it goes by the date of approval and not by when the chairman signs a plat, just for reasons like this, that the chairman won't sign it until they get those drawings in there.
Well, I hate to say it, but I think that we have two different sets of conditions. One in the July 17th approval, the other in the February 6th approval.
That's
Even
correct.
if we take your interpretation as to what the letter should say, we gave him two different approvals with Part A of the conditions and Part B of the conditions. I think Part A, July 17th, runs out from that date. Part B, the February 6th, runs out from that date. So we have conditions A that have to be met and conditions B that have to be met on two different timeframes.
But it isn't two different things, because the July meeting was him coming in from the February meeting to meet the set of things that we asked him to. So he came in here in July and we were gonna approve him for it, and then we ended up reasoning with him or bargaining with him for the 20% reduction spaces and putting in more trees and stuff.
When he came back, had the original set of conditions been satisfied?
That at the July meeting.
Okay, I think he has a time frame. I don't know what that time frame is, from July 17th meeting, and a different time frame for the revised conditions of the February 6th letter.
He does, but that's only because those letters were sent out like that. They shouldn't be
Yes.
sent out like that. I don't read the letters before they go up, but they should be sent out so that it's upon approval of the plat, because of just something just like this. You come in for a compliance hearing, you don't get an extension of your approval. The extension went from approval, but yeah, since it said signing of the plat, then yeah, it would seem that they haven't extended.
But if the first set of conditions, forget the signing of the platform,
Okay.
if the first set of conditions were satisfied,
Yep.
and then when he came back and said, I want to make some changes, the conditions of the second set of, the set of changes has an entirely different time frame, whatever that time frame is, between,
Only because
only because of the additional
Only,
conditions.
only because of the letter, because the approval was done on February 6th, I guess it was there. And that was when the site plan was approved.
February 2nd, excuse me.
Second, okay,
So I'm looking for letters.
okay,
Yeah.
that's when it was approved. So it goes from there. The compliance hearing is after that, which they had in July there. But the approval still runs from when it was approved. Jane, I want to get to you before you lose your train of thought.
Thank you. I think all this discussion confirms what Victoria has said. We really need to run it by legal.
And the question we want.
Too much question.
So the question we want to know, or the answers we want, are, does the approval, or does the clock start running when the approval is approved, or when the board votes to approve?
So then, my question is, there was two approvals.
Yes.
There weren't, no. There was one compliance hearing, and we approved a modification to the site plan, but we approved the site plan in February. That
So-
was the approval.
When you approve a modification, you still have the same amount of time to meet those new requirements?
No, you don't. No, it's the approval, it's 1 year from approval of the site plan. And you had a question.
Yeah, Mark Scalera, as a person I know. Seems to me that the approval was given in February, and that started that 1 year clock.
Right.
The fact that they came in July and had modifications, and those modifications would help to meet some of the conditions as well as some of the demands that they were dealing with. Really, to me, means that, you know, what you asked for coming out of that July hearing, you know, updates to the plans and all that, still needs to be accomplished within that 1 year that started in February. That's how I would interpret what I'm hearing, you know, what you guys are reading here.
Which is why we need the attorneys.
Yeah,
That's right.
absolutely. But from the public point of view,
Because like I've said, if we don't get it right, this guy will take us to court, as you well know too.
you'll take it to court and if you sneeze the wrong way.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
You can't let
concerned
that
about.
make- You can't let that make.
No, not necessarily, no,
It's,
but we have to
it's
have in mind.
this case for sure, but it's also the more global question,
Right.
because we're
Sure.
unclear, you know, when does that clock start? And our concern, I think, is that we feel like we're under the gun all the time. We don't have enough time to make good reasoned decisions, and yet it feels like applicants are able to expand their, the time in
And
which,
stretch it.
yeah, which doesn't seem fair.
Well, one thing
And
that
they
we
can't.
do is generally we either grant or adjourn or continue the night of the hearing. Very rarely do we ever reserve decision and give us the time that you're talking about to think and digest and read the minutes and go back over things. Should we start to think about reserving decision rather than grant, deny, or continue on the night of the hearing?
It doesn't stop the time you have to actually reach a decision though, because also step by state statute.
Well, we meet every 2 weeks, is generally the rule.
Well, the one way to get it, yeah, that's true, but still.
And
They got, we got 60 days usually to approve.
Okay.
okay, but that's more time than we give ourselves right now. 60 days, 2 weeks is more time than
Well,
on the spot.
this one, we took more time on.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is,
We have the amount of time that the state grants us.
Right.
yes.
Every planning board has the same exact amount of time as we do.
Yes, and that's 60
Regardless.
days, 60 days.
Okay, so we can drag out the full 60 days if you want, which is what you're saying that we should do. Or we can grant them a denial, or, grant them the site plan or deny it.
I'm not saying the full 60 days, but what I'm saying is for complex applications, we don't have to grant it or deny it
No,
on the spot.
no, that's a decision.
And we
make that
haven't, in this one we're talking about here, we have multiple meetings on that one.
Yeah, but still, even after the final meeting, we did not reserve decision. We granted. And I'm saying that on complex cases, we should not grant immediately. We're not required to, but we do. Complex or simple.
Yeah, other boards do that, they'll save all the decisions up until either the end of the meeting or another meeting entirely to deliberate on them.
Just one other, these conditions and administrative conditions in February was not the first time that they were presented. This goes back, these conditions have been pretty much posted going back to August at least.
When they first came before us.
Right.
Yeah, I think
So,
so.
I mean, it's not something that we all of a sudden added to there.
No, not at all.
And that they were not aware of in
No.
order to get approval.
And they were fine with it. They complied with it. When they came for their compliance hearing, they had all that stuff done that we asked them to in February. It was all done. And they wanted to change the parking, and they wanted to change the landscaping, or we wanted to change the landscaping, however that went there. That's where the confusion comes from. That meeting there, that compliance hearing was turned into a modification hearing, and they were granted some changes in their site plan, which the planning board has authority to do. They can do that, but the clock doesn't run from that meeting. It runs from the first meeting.
That's what I'm saying, it shouldn't start from that.
It doesn't. It starts from when it was approved. And I was just looking here, we can at some point go back into land use here, because it does say when the clock starts, and I'm pretty sure it says from approval of the plat, not from signing of it. And sometimes they use final approval, but they don't distinguish what final approval is. So we'll probably not get that out.
Stefan, do you have in your software, Stefan, do you have alerts to say that with each application, will something pop up on your screen that says that the date is almost up?
I'm sure I could set that up.
I just wonder, because we've got a lot of these big gnarly ones that will expire.
They might,
Because,
yeah.
we need to be able to administer this stuff, and I couldn't do that.
But this one, we wouldn't be able to expire on them for that, what we're talking about there. But we would if they don't have substantial development.
I
That
hate to
would,
suggest it, sir. I think you and Stefan to sit down and go over language.
yeah, we need to change that.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware it said that, and
Yeah,
I never
no.
see the decisions, so
Yeah.
yeah, it shouldn't say
But you're-
signing of it.
Obviously, there's stock language that is used.
Yeah, it's been used all probably
And
like forever.
it needs to
Yeah.
be revised.
Yeah. Yeah, because regardless of what the planning board says, we have to adhere to what it says in there.
Yes.
They could write when the guy signs it or whichever, but if it's in court, this is what they go by right there.
I think we should table this until I talk to council.
That's right, we'll get an opinion from council, see what he says about that. So,
I just have one question. If somebody comes in and asks for an extension, requests an extension, excuse me, is that guaranteed, or is that something that the board approves?
the board approves it.
It's not guaranteed.
No, if the board wants to approve it, they can, obviously, if they have good reason to approve it. If the applicant comes in and says, you know, they just couldn't get the building materials, they can prove this or that or whatever, that's something you can take into consideration. But if they come in, want the extension because they've been dragging their feet, then the planning board can say no, start all over. They could say we couldn't get the money, planning board can still say no, you know, start again.
And is it part of the reasoning behind that, you know, development changes over time, and so what once seemed like, you know, development in the middle of an open field suddenly now is a development that's proposed for, you know, a congested area or something. Right. So it's to try to stay current. So it's, you know, it's a reasonable thing, my way of thinking.
All right then.
Thank you.
Shall we take a look at some of these blueprints?
Nothing on the agenda.
These drawings, no, nothing else on the agenda anyways. I've still got the plans for the market basket over there. And I think what we can do is just slide a table out and just lay them out on one table. I think.
Or just grab one, put it on the side.
No, we can slide that middle table, oh, it's got the microphones on it. Let's slide that end table out and put it right there. Absolutely. We're gonna slide this table out. We're gonna put it right at the end of that.
I see you running for the big time.
No, let's do it this way. Let's get these, put that on there. This, that there, that one there. This back here, behind there. Fine there, we'll look at that.
No, I have that stuff to say.
We'll go ahead and use it if you could get right here. We'll just open these plans up on the table. I'll stand here and just point the stuff out that we're talking about.
All right.
Or stand up, however you want, I think it's better. So anyways, this is a set of market basket plans. And the first thing I usually do when I look over any of these plans like this is just go to the first page, you get your title sheet there, and it tells you, usually the index of sheets on there, you can see what's in the index. Just go back there and you can read it. Go back there real quick. And then you read the index, it tells you what's on there for, we've got the cover sheet, which we're looking at there, and then existing conditions, they all have that. And we have the overall site plan, they all have that too, all this information. So it just gives you an index of what you've got inside of there. Good to know. And you take a look at the title block there, just to see what it is. It always tells you what it is, and it tells you what the project is, who it is, and it usually has a stamp, which this one does right on the front. You can see the stamp, the engineer stamp right on the front. They sign it right there, you know. And you've got the index of sheets. You've got the revisions right there. Always important to check this revision box. It goes from the bottom up. This is the most recent condition, revisions on the top. It'll tell you what you're looking at. When you're looking at all the drawings inside of there, always look at that revision sheet. just to see when it was revised, and why it was revised. It usually tells you why right there. Doesn't always, but usually does tell you why.
Where does the planning board sign?
The planning board signs they usually stamp right on here, because the ones that the planning board signs. It's right on the cover sheet.
So we've got a copy in the,
Yeah, we've got, these are multiple, they gave us, that's what we're using.
we have an official copies.
Yep. And it shows us the locus of it usually, just generally speaking, where that project is, showing us the key line there. See the locus, I don't see the north arrow on here, but the north arrow is like, we got it there, within the locus drawing there. So then, you take a look, see what's in here, take a look, and this is the existing conditions plan, so notice, when you go to the first glance, always check the title block, see what it says about it down there, see what that is. Existing conditions that we're looking at, same company, obviously. We got a stamp by the surveyor.
Can I say something?
Yep, go right ahead.
About the vicinity plans?
Mhm.
I often feel like they're tricksy with those. You know, I often will go into the town tax parcel maps because I might not know exactly what the surrounding ownership is. And I just find it really helpful because even though I drive by it all the time, I know where it is, but I might not exactly know, where the neighbors are relative to this. And that affects how I look at these applications. It's, they're embedded in the community.
Yep, they are, and it does pay to go to the tax maps. These guys generally don't put that much detail on it.
No.
They just want you to know where the thing is. Sometimes they have a bigger map on the front. This company didn't. They give you enough information to know where it is.
They'll tell you, they'll tell you who lives there, but you don't see where the lines are, You
No,
don't see
you
how it all
don't,
comes together.
and they don't have to put that on the site
No.
plan. There's so much information that they have to do on these anyway.
In line with what you're saying, sometimes we see on our agenda, section whatever, block whatever, lot whatever, and you go down the street, there's nothing but trees. You don't know where the property
Well,
is.
that's when you do what Victoria's talking about. You go over the tax maps and you research it to find out what the heck is this lot number and map number. Where are we there? If you're curious about it, and that will tell you. You can still drive down the street and say the trees there.
Yeah, some kind of sign, zoning here, planning board hearing Tuesday.
Get the longitude and the latitude, then you can find it easy.
So this first drawing just shows us what's existing now. It shows us what's there. It shows us that the farmhouse has been removed on there, and you've got all your contour lines that show you how the slope of the land is going to be right there. And again, those contour lines are numbered. You can see that we've got 502, 503. So we can see up towards Route 10, 503. That's higher than it is moving in and in. We're getting to like 497 here. You can see that Route 10, we've got 503 there, and it's sloping gradually down. And these are like not very close together. They're like 5 feet apart there. I don't know what it is. Have to maybe just see. But showing us that and just generally what's there. Got a wetland area there. They're going to mitigate here. But it just gives you the general lay of the land and what's there, where the property lines are. This guy shows us the key line, which is helpful. They wanted to keep it on the Swanzey side there. And just general what's on Route 10, so on and so forth. So that's what's there now. So then go down to another next one here, which we've got. That's the existing conditions plan, and as you see, there's a match line right there. See that match line right there? It says what sheet it's matched to. Match line sheet 2. This is sheet 2. As you can see, they're all numbered. So on sheet 2 right there. Match line. It says sheet 3 right there. Put those two together. It's one long drawing. I couldn't fit it on one, so that's why they did the match line. So right there, this is the tail end of it here where that's going to go. Again, it gives us the same stuff. Lets us know what the contour of the land is, relatively flat again. It also shows us the soils maps there. This is 613B, and these are the soil numbers right here. 916, this is 916, and you can use the soils book, which is right here, and you can find out what those are. It'll usually tell you if you go up one here. They've got the soils right here, which gives you basically what that soil is. If you take these soil numbers here, although they left one out, that one isn't in there, 613B isn't there. I don't think that exists. But you can look it up in this soil book here. We'll look up, we've got 613B. Let's see. And we have these soil books over at the town hall.
So when they say soil, it's dirt plus slope, right?
It tells you basically what to expect for a slope on a certain soil condition. Now it's usually cedar. 613B right there. And 613B. So this is a 613B, and it's Krogan, loamy, fine sand, 0 to 5% slopes, and that's how they're categorized as. You can expect those kinds of slopes with that kind of, again, we're talking about these numbers right here. And that's what's under the ground. They've checked it out. It's on the soil survey, and they've probably done it themselves to see what's there for soil. And then it just tells you what the soil is, and in that particular case, it says it's a nearly level or gently sloping, moderately well-drained soil on glacial level. You can see that, yeah, it's true, that's pretty flat into here. It just tells you here where the soil basically came from and what to expect of it, and then it's good for at some point.
When they do those, how far down do they take the soil sample?
It depends what they're looking at, but usually they go down a couple of feet. If they're doing for wetlands, they don't go down that often deep. They go down maybe 2 feet there. But if they're doing the drainage part of it, they'll go down like 4 or 5 feet. They're trying to see where the water table is, if they can find it in there.
And part of it's a color match too, right?
Oh, it's all color match. Yeah, a lot of it is all color, especially with delineating what the wetlands are and stuff. It's a lot of color and what it is in there. If it's real fine sand or something like that, or loamy type of stuff in there, or gravel.
Do they take like an actual core sample? Is that what they do?
Sometimes they do, yeah. These numbers here, like that, they probably didn't go out and do the field. They may have, but they probably didn't. But they probably went to the soils survey of New Hampshire and just took it off of that. And then when the engineers get out there to put the building down, then they're going to take the core samples to see what's going to support the building down there and what they have to do, how much they have to dig out. But these are generally just for their benefit and for the planning board's benefit as well, just so that we know what's there for soil and what to expect on it. So let's see, what else is here? And this is, again, existing conditions. The next one is the same one. Got the match line on, is that? No, that's wrong.
We got ahead of this.
Yeah.
You guys are ahead of us. Okay, this is the same tail end of that piece. There's a wetland in there. There's wet in here, and you can see as those contour lines get real close together, you can tell that that steep goes down quite a bit. These contour lines are there. 15 feet apart. These are 15 feet apart here. When you put down here, it's real close together, so it goes downhill. You can see. Anytime when you're looking at those soil lines there, if the contour goes away from you, it means there's probably a crown in the land. The land is crowned up like that. If the contour lines comes toward you, it's probably a valley in the land like that. So you can tell from looking at it that when this comes in here, that goes out a little bit, so it's crowned up a little bit right there. This is coming back towards you, so it's a little bit deeper in there. This is a hard one to tell because this land is so flat. Some of the other ones we get are a lot different than this. You can really tell a lot from it. And we get to sheet 4, which is the overall site plan. This is what they intend to do. This is usually a general site plan. And again, you just check everything, check the title block, see what you got here, what they're telling you it is, check the revisions, and then you check the scale too. You see the scale right there, it's always marked there. That scale, if you look at this one, is 80 feet per inch. Now we'll go back to the other one here. Let's see, maybe the
40.
Now you notice that one, yeah, down to 40 feet, typically they're 30 or 40 feet per inch. So it always pays to check the scale when you're looking at these drawings, to know what you're looking at and to use the scale. We're gonna use these the engineering scale, just so we can see what's on the drawing. Anyways, we're to the sheet 4, which is the overall, what they're gonna do with it. So they went down to a double scale because they needed to get the whole thing on that one page, just so you, the planning board can see what they want to do. Their buildings here, one with the parking there, and basically, that's how it's laid out. And so, always remember that that scale may change. Let's see, you go to site preparation plan, this is on sheet 5. So this is what they're gonna do, and this is how they're gonna do it. They're gonna prep the site this way. They're gonna show you what they're gonna do. They're gonna remove this fence, as they got a notation on there, that fence is there. They're gonna remove that. They're already telling you that the house is going anyway. They're telling you they're gonna remove those trees there. So they're gonna move these trees out of the way here. They're gonna put a temporary way in there, just so they can get their trucks and stuff in and off of Route 10. They're gonna do that. And those are the things they're gonna do. They're gonna put the silt fence up there. Again, it isn't on here, but you go to the legend to see what some of these things are, and you might want to find out what the heck it is, and it'll tell you that's the silt fence there, and that's how that's the lineage, so wetland again there. So that's what they're gonna do to prepare the site for building.
That's still what's really in this one.
Now, this set of plans, the people who are doing the actual, say, grading and moving soil and whatnot, are they working from this same set of plans?
They are. Yeah, a lot of the stuff in here, if you note, the notes again are an important thing to read, these notes that you see on all of the sheets. But mainly those notes are for the contractor, and that's for him to work off of here. And yeah, they will use these drawings, and they're gonna measure off of these drawings with the engineer scale that we have here. And this is the thing, we have the exact same set that they do. And again, this is another site prep plan right here. Scale again, revisions, they revised this one for added stockpile, yeah, they had a big stockpile of topsoil there. Because they'll go down and add those revisions on there after they see the planning board. Sometimes the planning board say, no, we want you to do this or that, and they'll come back with the drawings, and you can see that they revised it because the planning board said something or other. There's one right there, it says revision for submittal to the planning board, that second one there. So the planning board must have wanted something different in there, whatever it was, so they revised it. But again, it's just, this is what they're gonna do, and I can notice the legend here, from that side, that legend shows up here, shows what all these little guys made. They're all pretty much the same in a lot of these engineers, but some of them use different signs for different things, so you always really need to check that. Even if you know what a line means, it always pays to go check that legend over there. And you'll see that as they get further in their drawings, sometimes they add things to it. So they'll give you an existing legend, and they'll give you a proposed one, which are things that they're going to add into that legend, what those things are. Let's go to, this is a site layout plan. So this one here pretty much tells a lot of what the planning board is interested in as well. It shows what they're going to do, how they're going to lay out their parking, of course, where the building is going on. And it gives you, it gets down to some dimensions on this one. So that's where the engineers feel. We've seen all these three-cornered rulers here. There are two different types. There are architect scales and engineer scales.
Yep.
For all these drawings here, these dirt drawings, we always use the engineer scales. So the architect scales go like 1/4 inch per foot, inches per foot. These go to feet per inch, these engineer scales, because the drawings are big. So you check 40 feet to an inch. And these scales here, you guys have one up there, there's another one right here. Stefan brought a couple of those
How do
here.
we do this?
So here's what you do, is you go to check your scale first.
Okay.
You see it's 40 feet per inch. Then you check this
So
guy here. This is 30
it's
feet per inch.
40.
There's 40 right there. Keep on turning around. You've got 60 feet per inch, 50 feet per inch, 20 feet per inch.
Okay.
So you put your 40 feet per inch to the left-hand side. You've got them all marked up, 30, 40, 10, 20.
So how long is this section?
You put it on your left, and each one of these, you got your 40 footer there.
Tells me it's 28 feet.
right there. So put that to your left hand so you can read it there.
What does that tell
So in each one of these,
How do I know what
it
this
is 5,
distance is?
5, 10, 15, 20. They all go that way. Each of those longer lines is 5 feet. So now you got 20 feet, you got 40 feet right there that you want to check it with your scale to make sure that those guys got it right. So you put that right at the beginning of the zeros, put the 0 to the 0. No, the 0. See that little 0 right there? Put that to that, and you see if it comes out to 40. And it does, yeah, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So when you're doing these drawings, always check the scale. Always check the scale to make sure.
So I know it's a 40.
Yeah, but make sure it's 40.
Oh,
Take your ruler.
okay.
Because they make mistakes on these drawings sometimes. So you put your the 0 right there, 0 to the 0, and each one of those little lines is 5. So we got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. You got 40 feet to there. So now we know they're correct.
Big numbers are.
Plan reading are pretty
10,
good.
20, yeah. 5, 10, 20, 40, like that.
Okay.
So if you want to know how far
Yeah.
they're parking, maybe they're parking spaces there. They're saying that those are 9 feet. So you put your 0, right to there, and you bring out, and you can see that it's just under 10.
Yeah,
Just,
just
so it is 9, and they're saying it's 9 feet, so that is correct.
So then this distance.
So you can measure their parking and things like, we're just measuring parking there, so you put your scale, put your 0 right there at the parking. They're saying their widths are 9 feet, so we're looking at here, we got 5, and it's just barely below the 10, so they're 9 feet, they're correct.
Just to whatever.
So we can measure any of that stuff,
Okay.
you know.
And that's why I was sometimes just more than 5 spaces. It shows that this.
Is that you and I have to make like a little.
It might be, yeah. If they're
I
good
can take
there.
a known distance of
They're
the
good,
parking
probably.
space and then make a ruler that's.
As a rough, yeah.
So
So
the engineer
tedious.
scale, is it, you read one of these before?
It's been a while, yeah.
The engineer scale is a good thing to use to go over when we're looking over all these drawings there, because
No.
sometimes you want to know, say, how far from like property line, this is the key line, how far from the key line is that piece right there? So you put your 0 on the piece, we're counting out, so right there, we're about 8 feet. We've got 5 and about 3 little ones there, so we've got 8 feet there. So it's good to know that, but you can still ask the engineer, but it's best to know yourself what you're doing on there, or you can question what they're doing. So it's good stuff. Now, on this is the legend. So this, see, they changed the legend on this. Sometimes I show you this. You got the legend there. Existing, this is what we had before, this is what proposed. They're adding all those things. They're adding these things into the legend. It's always good to look at that legend. This is what we've had so far in the drawings. Now they're adding those into, things like the equities, things like that in there, into the drainage. And we'll be able to go over there. Another thing that we need to look at is drainage on the drawings. So to make sure that it's laid out, and we'll get to their drainage. I'm parking here.
Doesn't even get in front of them.
So let's flip to the next one here. We've got grading and drainage plan. So this just shows you what they're going to do. Now we know that they have these contour lines, so those squiggly contour lines out. We know what the field looked like, and they left them in there too. All those little squiggly lines.
So these are the before they moved it.
Well,
you
no,
turned it
this
off?
is before and after.
Okay.
It makes it confusing because they leave them in there sometimes and you can't really see. You've got all this interference, so all these lines going all over the place. But this is their drainage plan, what they're gonna do.
So
so
this is
these-
after they've moved all the dirt around. That's what I see.
After they move the dirt around, we
That's what we see.
kind of have to ignore the squiggly lines and go by these 502 right there. See like these
Oh,
lines?
yeah, the
This
straight.
502,
Okay.
this is what it's gonna be flat, so that's why it's straight.
Okay.
And it's
Okay.
coming back towards you,
Okay.
so it means it's dipped in, it's going in this way.
Yeah.
As you can see, the contour line is coming back towards you like that. These are the big parking areas, that's how they've got it set, and flatten it all off like
Break
that.
your eggs.
So this is the elevation, 502, oh yeah, those lines are elevation lines, I didn't say that before, but these are feet above sea level. 502, 504, that's what, in all of these contour lines, that's what that means. So you can see that they've got it slanted that way and it's straight along, that means it's a flat area. You can also see that they've got these squiggly little lines, look like a little arrow, see these little worm lines right there? And they got arrows on them.
Okay, yeah.
That's the intended path of the drainage. They figure it to drain this way. And they've got in the center DCB and CB.
So the squiggly points in the
You
direction
used the
of
expression
flow.
a few minutes ago.
So that's
Feet
gonna
above
be
sea.
going,
Yes, that's what
Okay.
these, yep.
What sea are they talking about?
You're talking about the ocean.
Okay.
And I would assume the eastern seaboard here.
Okay, so we're only 502 feet above,
That's right, yeah,
above the ocean.
that's right.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
And all of these, and you'll see those lines in here. This is 495 feet above sea level.
Yep.
And okay, so that's how all of these things are, they're all set that way. And they use an altimeter to do it. That's what they, how they set it.
You see the waters flowing both directions.
Yeah, so they've got these.
And just these are drains into these.
Yeah, you'll see these. It says DCB, DCB, and CB. That stands for catch basin. You'll see there's DCB. DCB is double catch basin. You can see that that grate is bigger than the others. And then if one says just CB, that's just a regular catch basin. Just a single grate. So you can see that's where they got the water draining to, right there. And you can see the drain lines they have underneath of the pipe connecting it right there, with the D on it there. So again, those squiggly lines tell you where the engineer figures the water to go. And a lot of this is for the dirt engineer that's actually grading this stuff off. But it's for us too, so that we know how they set it up, and if it's, in our opinion, if it's working or not. So, let's see. Really neat. And there's the drainage and everything. And again, it's a complicated drawing when they leave all the contours underneath there. But I guess I'll show it before and after. So let's go to, this is grading and drainage plan. This is for the part that they didn't end up using, but it just showed you what they're going to do in the field. Because they had to mitigate some wetlands. We'll leave some wetlands over there, but they showed you how they're doing their, that's that drainage pond there, how they graded that whole thing off, again, above sea level. 400, so 450 goes right down to 486. So it's still right down into that pond, and we all know that pond, we've seen it right there. Now on this one, you'll also see something like that, it's TP right there. TP stands for test pit. Test pit. They have a number too, and they usually have, the engineers have a sheet that tells you those test pits. It tells you how deep they went. It tells you where they saw the water table, if they saw the water table at all, and it tells you what they encountered for soils and so on and so forth. But that's what those things do. And that's
So
what
those are the locations that they actually,
that's exactly
took
where they,
samples
yeah,
from.
exactly where they're taken from right there. And you'll see them, they'll be, let's see, they aren't on this because they aren't putting a building area. You'll see them all over the building area there. So they have to do these test pits to know what's underneath there in order to support the way the building's there. So that's what they have with those. Now you'll see on this drawing here, they've got a drainage schedule. This is a pretty handy little thing. Not all the drawings have them, but this particular one does. So you can use this drainage schedule and you can trace out any of those catch basins that they have in this set of sheets. Now this, unfortunately, this should be on the other sheet, probably not a room for it. So let's see, we have double catch basin 14. That's right there. Double catch basin 14. That's right there. You can look it up on here. See it right there? Double catch basin 14. So that gives you the rim elevation. That means that's the top. That's where the manhole is, right on the ground. That's the rim elevation. Then they give you an invert out elevation, which is the bottom manhole where the water runs, and it tells you what structure it goes to. So that one right there, yeah. It tells you that the rim elevation, this flat level elevation is 498.5 above sea level. Then the invert out, and the invert means that there's a drain in the bottom of the manhole. That's where the invert is. They're using both sewer and regular drain manholes. And that elevation is to the bottom of the pipe. So they tell you that, and they tell you the in and the out, and then they also tell you where it goes to if you're tracing it down. So this one here goes to double manhole 16, which, let's see, there's 14, there's 16 right there. So it shows you, it just goes, and it tells you how far it goes to. It goes to number 16, and it tells you the distance, doesn't it?
30.
It should tell you.
46.
Right there, 46, yeah, that's it. Looks like, yeah, just a short little distance there. So anyways, you can look up any of these drain patterns on the entire drawing. This one here has a lot more of them on there. This is more complicated, this one here. I got started using, bringing drains from here and here and here, and it shows you where they all go. They all are going this way.
So Scott, when you personally, I know this is an area of your own expertise, when you're looking at a plan like this, what are you looking for? What are you trying to determine?
I'm looking to see if it makes sense. If I think it works or not. You know, I'm looking to see if, say the drainage, for instance, if it looks like it's actually gonna work, or is it just for show, and is it gonna run off on somebody else's property, you know? Or is there something behind it that the engineers didn't take, like, say, a large hill on the backside of it on somebody else's property that runs onto their property, even though it shouldn't, that they didn't take into consideration. They usually do, but sometimes they don't. So just see if it makes sense to you, and just follow it out. You know, if they're running a bunch of drains to, we'll say, to the left of the site, and then just one little lone drain somewhere else is going to the right of the site, you're gonna wanna know, well, where the heck is that drain going?
Yeah.
Is it going in the same place where those guys are putting it, or is it going into the sewer? Which
So you literally, you trace those lines to see where they're exiting, right?
Well, just, yeah, and it's, you can just stand there and see where they go. Yeah. And see how it gives you an idea how it works. And then you can ask the engineers, well, why did you do that? Or what does this mean? If you don't understand something on there, you say, well, what is this little thing here? I don't see it in the legend, and I don't know where that line goes. And the engineer, if he knows the stuff, he can explain it to you. If he doesn't, then back to the drawing board.
Did you calculate the pitch too, like you would in plumbing in a house?
I don't have to, because it's right here. It's right on.
So you can just look at the distance and the drop and.
The slope is on that left-hand side of the, is it on this next one? Yeah, it's on that one there. You can always tell the slope, because the contractor has to know that. And the engineer on site is going to check that. And there's the slope, so and it's,
So
it's percentage of a foot. That's what it is. It's not feet, or not like quarter inch or eighth inch. It's decimals of a foot. That's how that's set. They use decimals for everything in here.
Where's the inverse in elevation?
In-
The structure.
So that's invert. They call the bottom of that, or the drain part of the manhole, the invert, for whatever reason, we do not know. But that elevation is to the bottom of that invert, and you notice that some of them are like 0.3 of an inch higher or lower, some of them are 3 inches lower, but the one coming in is higher, and the one going out is lower. That's all it means, that's all it is. And again, the schedule here is a lot for the contractors doing this work, because they're gonna have their transit out there, and they're gonna see if those things work with the site. The engineer is supposed to have done this all to the site to see if the bottom elevation on this one is gonna be higher than the bottom elevation on that one way over there.
Does code enforcement, how do we check this? Does code enforcement go out there, and we just take the word for it, right?
We have to take their word for it, because they have engineers on site. They don't want it to fail. They want it to be a good job.
That's good when it's something like this, right? But what about some of the smaller things that we do?
It all depends on the plans that they give us. You know, we go by whatever they give us the plans, and the more we know about these larger plans, the more questions we can ask about those incomplete plans.
Right, good.
So it gives us a good background if we just sit down and take a look at some of these things and just go over it. So let's see, what else? I know there's a lot here we're doing, so.
No, this
you
is
can't-
great. The
can't
depth is
expect it. So we've got the utilities plan. Okay, this is going to show where the sewer and the water goes in. It usually shows where the electrical comes into the building and into the site. Okay, so in this one here, we've got sewer marked with an S right there, and the water is marked with a W right there. Looks like we've got it over here, W and S. We've got the sewer coming in, sewer right there, S and W there, sewer and water lines to maintain the separation. You can always check them to see if it's separate. You can see what the separation is between the two with your engineer scale, and let's see what it is between those two. Let's see here. So if they maintain separation, let's see, a little bit more. They've got 10, 11, 12 feet, so they have to have 10, they got 12 feet.
Well, but you gotta account for the
Well, I gotta
size
account
of
for.
the pipe,
Yeah,
right?
yep. So, and when they're doing it in the field, it has to be. It makes sense. It's noted on the drawing, but you're right, when they're in the field. So we've got water coming in over here by the looks, going around the building. Looks like sewer and water coming in both sides there. Going to manhole, see the SMH4 right there? That means sewer manhole. SMH4, yeah, sewer manhole, that's sewer manhole 5, just, 4. But these are SMH sewer manholes. Everything goes to those, and it usually tells a direction. I don't see it here, but generally the direction of drainage, which in this case would be that way and that way. But it'll show it on another drawing.
No, they get Keene water.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Now it shows here that the water is coming from Keene, proposed water meter pit, so they're gonna take the city water from Keene right there and hook it onto that little guy. And they're gonna take the Keene sewer and hook it on right there. That's right, and this one right here is where they're coming in. Because again, we look here, look at the driveway comes from Keene line right there. You can see that they're gonna tap in there,
The Keene water.
and right there, come up here. So let's see, and this shows
Maybe.
other things on it as far as they've got
Is this the water line right there?
yeah, we got a big grease trap in there, part of that sewer system there.
This black line right here that starts right here.
They're showing us also that
Goes all the
the
way.
part of it's easier to see.
Dotted line up.
Right there. A lot of the water is
It's
coming in here, infiltrating into the ground, and also
Let's
runoff
continue.
coming all the way down here, going back to the initial drainage.
I wish we had a map.
I don't know, I think it terminates.
Yeah.
Does it keep going or does it terminate?
The water,
Yeah.
stopped right there.
Oh,
Right at the gate out there, see it says a thrust block right there, see the thrust block, that means they ended it right there. It's a big giant weight in there, so the pressure of the water won't shove the valve off and just blow off under there. If that made a turn, you'd also see a thrust block there, because at all the turns, they usually put a big thrust block there, so it can't blow it back out. But right, that means it ends.
now these people over here, they don't have the water.
They probably do, because
They
the
do.
water runs right
Yeah,
by.
with that
It may,
apartment, like condo place or whatever it is right.
or that, what is it, the Guyaks, isn't it? Guyaks is
Yeah.
right across from there. Now they, and there's the Fast Friends, yeah, the
Yeah,
Fast Friends are behind there, now their sewer goes through their backyard and hooks onto the Matthews.
Matthews.
That's how that goes through there, down in there, so.
Is that mapped in town in those lines? Or do we just need these little paragraphs of data?
You mean, like, for the Fast Friends there?
Okay, I get it.
But it's mapped on the site plan. If it's on their property, it's generally on the site plans. If
I mean,
it's
is there an overall map of the town of Swansea that shows?
Well, yeah, like you said, they're working on it, but we have them at the treatment plant, maps of all the streets and where all the sewer is on there.
Yeah, okay.
It doesn't necessarily show where all the water is unless they hit it there or unless they knew it was there. And it doesn't necessarily show what's on the private property or on Fast Friends there. That would, you'd have to go to the site plan to find out where those lines went and why they did it, if they did.
I feel like we've got a lot of institutional knowledge, like in the brain, you know?
Oh, no,
We need to have that.
we have all of this stuff on paper,
We do,
Yeah,
okay.
we do. Okay, so this brings us down to the water extension plan. So this is how they're gonna get the water to, again, they're taking it off of the Winchester Street, and like we saw right there, they're tapping on right there, proposed water meter pit, right there and there. That's what we saw in the other drawing. We saw those two little diagonal lines over there, because here's the main site plan. So this is just background for those guys. They didn't really even need to do that, but it just shows them background, I guess, is what they want to do, but it's,
my husband's birthplace.
is it right there? So
Well, actually, no, it isn't. That's where you.
basically, that's for the engineer. And let's see. So this is interesting here. This is the sewer plan and profile. Now, if you notice there, you've got the sewer plan. Again, that's the water and the sewer. Sewer is S. The other one is W is water. And you've got a profile drawing right there. You've got a profile of it. So this is looking on to see how the slopes go. If you stand and you cut away the ground and look at it that way, you see how that slope went in the ground with it there? And you'll notice that the scale is different on that. So if you look at your scale, what you always need to do, you got the profile, you've got the scale, 1 inch equals 40 feet, but then you've got the vertical scale, they sneak in on you. 1 inch equals 4 feet.
Oh, okay.
So they cut it right down, and the reason they do that is 1 inch equals 40 feet, and the vertical, that's horizontal, vertical is 1 inch equals 4 feet. So they really blasted it down there a bit. And the reason they do that is if you drew it out to scale, the length that it is, the pitches on sewer lines are so slow that you wouldn't even see the thing move at all. You'd think that that's a flat line, that can't possibly work. So they've added in, they've changed the scale, and you can use your engineer scale for that. It's just that instead of the 40 feet, it's the 4 feet. So let's see, they don't put that. Let's see here. If you're measuring the height from, we'll say that elevation right from there. So you check the scale there and make sure it's 40 feet. Yeah, we're around 40 feet, right at 4. So now you look at 1, 2, 3, 4. So above, say that 490 area there, let's see, it's about 2 feet to the bottom of the pipe. So that you could be going just 1, 2, 3, 4 instead of 10, 20, 30, 40.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4. So on this architect scale, on the vertical part, you can use, it's a 40-foot scale, but instead of 10, 20, 30, 40, you're 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're measuring vertical that way. So let's see. Also, in these drawings like this, you've got what they call stations. This is stations. See that line right down there starts with 0? That line there down the bottom, that's 0 station. Those are the station marks. And the dirt engineers, what Elton Blood used to always call them dirt engineers, so we'll kick out of that. But they use these for measuring long distances. Now you notice it's like 0 plus 0, 0, and 1 plus 0, 0, 2 plus 0, 0. It's starting here 0.0 plus 0, 0, 1 plus 0, 0, 2 plus 0, so on and so forth. Well, the number before the plus always stands for 100. So that would be 100 feet, and if say if this is 29, it'd be 129 feet. They've made it easy for us here. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, all those, until they get down there, plus 47. So actually that would be 1,000, so that's 10 plus, so it'd be 1,000 plus 47 feet. That's what that last one would be. It basically should have had the 10 in front of it to make that. But they all know what they're talking about, so they didn't do that. Didn't have to do that. So that's how these go. These are 100 feet in between. Like that. And again, they made it easy for us here, but if you see in the other drawings of the laying out roads or something like that, if we're looking over road layouts, you'll see the stations with different little things, 23, 50, 60, 80, whatever they have on it.
And what should we be looking for when we're looking at something like this?
Well, it's just interesting to look at. The planning board doesn't have too much to do with the engineering of how the lines go, how the slope goes, but it is good to know. You know, we're looking at all these plans, we're making decisions on all these guys, these site plans and stuff. We really should know what we're looking at. To a certain extent, know what we're looking at, just being able to ask questions about, well, what's this, why is that? That's all.
And to know they accounted for it.
Yeah, and to know what they're for, instead of looking at the drawing and saying, well, I don't know what the heck, that's
Pretty.
yeah. But you can get different stuff from it. Now, you also notice down here, you've got these numbers here, 497, 499, 0.1, 501.2, and down all the way across here, 503.8, 503.7. So what that means is that that's what the ground contour is now. At that point, the ground right now is 501.2 feet above sea level at that point right there. Okay. They're just showing that's what the dotted line is. The dotted line is what the existing ground level is right there. So it shows you that, right, it's 501.2 feet to there above sea level, but it's not going to end up being that way. That line right there is what the proposed grade is going to be. The grade, the finished grade is going to be like that.
So we don't have to use our rules to figure that out.
No, because it's already told us that. Now, if we want to know how much higher it is, okay, then we'd use the ruler, but we've got to remember the vertical scale is 1 inch equals 4 feet and not 1 inch equals 40 feet.
So Scott, would this be the road coming in and out of the intent?
It might be, let's find out if it is or not. So these stations, these stations like 0 plus 0, 1 plus 0, 2 plus 0, 3 plus 0, these stations are also here. So let's see, where's that? That's right by that sewer manhole number 3. So if we find sewer manhole number 3, see that right there, sewer manhole number 3, then we see 4 plus 0, 0, 4 plus 0, 0 right there. That's where that is. And to the left of it is what we're talking about, and that's what it is.
So you can actually find it.
Yeah, you can, that's how you find it. So again, let's go, use reference sewer manhole 3 as a reference, that's what this whole thing is. You can measure how deep that manhole is. Sewer manhole 3, we'll just take a look up here. There's sewer manhole 3, SM3, and we see that 4 plus 0, 0 is just to this side of it. There you can see it right there, 4 plus 0, 0. So we know that point, and we're talking about these two dips. So we know it's to the left of that. You take a look, there it is, right, this one, those two dips. So it's another way of telling where you are on the plane. And lots of times I line up with one another. This one doesn't. You know, you can sometimes go right straight across and say, oh yeah, there's sewer manhole 3 and 4 and that. But you can't, you always have the station numbers right there. You can always count just 4 plus 0, 6 plus 0, 7 plus 0. You always know where you are on the grade.
I find this interesting.
Interesting, and it just lets you go around the drawing a little bit better.
I guess they changed this
Sounds like one
before they went through with it. This,
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now, this is just this.
Just the one way, yeah, there's no.
Let's see, I think we've covered a bunch on that, you know, the basic stuff that we need to know. Just gotta remember the scale change on those. And you always check the scale, and you always check the revision, always check your title block. Yeah, this is 5 plus 0, 0 means 500. First number before the plus is always 100 feet. So they start with 0, so that's the beginning of their project. So that's 100, 200, 300, 400.
Oh, so this is like the.
That's 1,000.
Site?
Yep, that's as far as they're going. Yeah, as far as they're going to where they're gonna hook in. Now, another thing you might see on these is that you'll see that weird looking little oval thing right there. See that oval? Well, that means, that we're looking at the project from the sideways. That means there's a pipe coming in, either at an angle or straight towards us. That's what that means. And it means when you counted one here, see that pipe coming straight at us? That means there's a water line, 8-inch ID, but it's coming straight at us like that. Just showing you, if you look on these, you might see a little oval thing right there, and a little oval thing right there. That means into that manhole, there's a pipe coming straight at you, or at a slight angle. That's how they show it in these things. Water line, you'll see the water line that is in the ground right up here. It's coming right at you like that.
Okay, question.
Yep.
Is this the same scale as this? I only see one scale.
Is that what we're saying?
Right there. That's
We're
what it is.
coming in.
Can you say why are we seeing the face on the?
Because there's an existing water line there, or one they're putting in, one or the other, but that's where it's gonna be.
And is it going to sort of?
Let's find out where that is. That's in, Buckham Road there.
It's right before 800, 8 plus 0, 0.
That's 7, 8, so it should be in this vicinity.
So we don't know why, we know, oh, there it is, right there, it's right there. Yeah, they've got a T off somewhere, they're going somewhere, yeah, it's got a T right off it, so that's that, and that's what you saw right there. It's coming straight at you. Interesting to know when you're reading the plans, something like that. You'll see that manhole, you'll think only one line going in, one going out. Not the case. You got one going in, one going out, and another one going in. There's a couple coming in, so you'll know that there's something different there. So then you'll look at your drawings and see, well, where does that other one go? Does it go this way, that way? I mean, again, a lot of it's just for the engineers, but it's for us too, because these are our drawings that drawn for us as much as they do the engineers.
Is there a company?
Yes. All right, let's go to the next one here, let's see what we have.
No, I just wanted to see, to try that out, the
Yeah.
2 plus 0, 0,
Yeah.
because they show that right there.
Yeah, find it on
So you
here.
find it up here,
You'll probably be looking over here somewhere.
right?
Find the manhole if you can. It's this manhole right there, or these two manholes here?
It's this one right
So
here.
find sewer manhole number 2, which would be, let's see, that's number 1. So that's number, see, that's number 2 right there. So you've got a line coming there, there, and there.
Yeah.
So this, right, see that little short line right there?
Yeah.
That's that. That's what that is.
This one.
Yeah, that's what that is. And this line going here is that one,
It's the oval
which
one.
is going into the property. going or coming from the property. And the other one is the main going down to the key line. So that's what that little thing is there. And they're correct, showing that changing like that. Some of them you'll see, I don't see it here, but you'll see one of those old, say way up here. That's a drop. That means it came in higher, but they didn't want to put too steep of a line down there. And you can't put the sewer lines too steep, and you can't put them too shallow. You have to put them just right. So you'll see it's a drop in the manhole. Maybe the gut line is all right. Is there another one here? So yeah, there's one right there. There's a drop right there. So that sewer line. We're just looking at how it shows a drop sometimes. Sometimes the sewer lines can't go at that steep of an angle into the main there. It's not good for them to run. So it'll come as a drop, and you can see this is a drop coming straight at you from the property. And it would be this line right here, or manhole was number 2. Yeah, sewer manhole number 2.
Especially for those
This
classes.
is number 1, that's number 2 right there. So it's this line right there, we're looking at right there, coming into there.
So you're saying that's dropping down into that flow pipe?
But it's a manhole that big around, so it's coming in maybe 5 feet above the invert, and the invert's at the bottom of it. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Depending on the company that puts it in, sometimes it's just like a half a piece of pipe with a space in between, where the water come out, if it's coming out too fast, it'll hit that. Normally the water doesn't come out that fast, so it doesn't matter, but they will sometimes put this little stop in front of it. Let's see, what else we got on this one here? No, that's basically the same slope, yeah, same sewer plan, same stuff we've seen before, station numbers. They started from scratch on these station numbers here, I guess, or, oh, this is the side of the building, this goes up the side of the building, that's what that is. Because this is a grease trap, I think. Yeah, it's a grease trap right there. So that goes up the side of the building. So that's why it started at 0 again. This is starting right out at Route 10. Yeah, this goes up, this is a short run that goes up the side of the building. Yeah, perpendicular to Route 10. So what else we got in there? We got,
So with this track, is that something that gets cleaned up?
yeah, they pump it out, they send bells or some of those guys, they just pump them out.
How often do they clean out the water bases?
The catch basins for the drains in the street? I don't know. I've seen them do it, or try to do it every year, but I don't know if they really get to them all every year. But the sewer mains in the street, that's a different story. They're 2 different separate systems. The sewer mains are done, it's like a rotating yearly basis. You'll take maybe 3 miles of your sewer and you'll clean it with a jet truck 1 year, and then you'll go do another 3 miles the next year, and I'm rotating things, so maybe in 5 years you've done them all, and then you start all over again.
Do we ever, as a condition of approval, request like a schedule of cleaning, things like that? Is that our business?
It's not really our business because it's too hard. The planning board has no authority to enforce.
Yeah.
So even if we did say it, then, you know, the code enforcement guy can do it, enforce it, or the selectman can, but the planning board can't. They have no business doing that. But we can say that we want you to clean that out every year, and we want you to give a report to the road agent of that clean out, and they have to do it. Now, whether they do it or not, and then we keep track of it.
Right. Calendar.
Please.
Oh, boy.
So let's see, we've got the landscaping plan here, which is pretty self-explanatory there. Landscape plan and landscape plan for the rest of the property down yonder there. We're gonna do with the pond. Let's see, we've got stormwater management plan. Again, this is, we'll have to check it because, yeah, that's how they deal with the stormwater for the entire project. And then you take a look at the scale, and when they snuck a 50-foot one in on us on that one, they changed the scale to 50 feet that time. But this pretty much takes the whole thing in to just show us how they're doing it, where it's going. We can use that schedule back there if we forget where it's going. But generally, it's going down here, right into there, and then sheet right over into that area there.
Notes on this page, right?
Yeah, notes for those are mainly for the contractor.
Good.
They've got an infiltration system there. Yeah, it's just interesting stuff to know, to see how they've got it. See if they miss anything, which they usually don't, but you never know. There are mistakes on these drawings here, and as in everyone, they could miss, could miss something back there, not be a catch basin back there, to know where the water's going, and might be able to protect them on it.
And there the deal is every drop of water has to stay on that parcel.
It's supposed to, yeah, and the engineer certifies that that happens, because the planning board cannot certify, they don't know if it's gonna happen or not. They can tell if it looks like their system is laid out properly and it's gonna work. Doesn't mean we can find out from these drawings here, but we really don't know. The engineers are paid, and it's their stamp on the line if it doesn't work, and if it doesn't work, they have to fix it.
Okay, now, the drawings all show a third building.
Yeah.
That was never built.
No, we approved it. That's why it's on, it was approved, but they just never built it. And this whole thing, I think, is that where they put that big dirt pile. You'll have to see in the legend now, see the legend. I think that they had a big topsoil pile somewhere in that. I think it probably is. So they're just parking here now, and that's gonna be parking, they're gonna pave it now.
This is what they're gonna do for the liquor store.
Yeah, liquor store there, parking there for liquor store, and they're gonna use that front for the liquor store as well.
Yeah, these people got shot from Massachusetts.
So I think we're about to the end of it here. The rest is probably details. Again, mainly for the contractor, just to show them what they're doing there.
And that's generally just boilerplate, right? It's not specific necessarily to this location.
You're right, it's generally boilerplate. Sometimes it's specific in some of the catch basins and those types of things.
I have seen it very specific.
Do we ever do?
Only for specific things. If there's something in, we'll say, the drainage plan that you're wondering, what does that catch basin look like, or how are they building those catch basins, or are they, whatever. This will tell you actually how they're doing some of that stuff there. But again, it's boilerplate stuff. They're all manuals and basically this person's pages, that's all. It's that all. It shows you the number. And you can see that it's really higher than it really was. How the engineer, how the contractor is going to. It shows us how the catch basins and the sewer manholes are built. Drain manhole there, telling you, catch basin, telling you that generally that's how it's supposed to go in and out. You see the flow, see the invert at the bottom, generally right there. One's a little bit higher than the other, not by much, a little bit. Again, you have just details of the whole thing. They've got a detail of their infiltration system. You've seen those in some of Chad's stuff too. Basically how they're building it, the chamber thing down the building. And again, that's really nothing for the planning board. It's interesting to look at, but mainly it's for the engineers and for the contractor to show it, how it's supposed to be built. And what the chamber system is doing. And that's the layout of the chamber system, so they can do it. So how it's supposed to be. Yeah, there's a different manhole on that one. That's an outlet structure for this. This one here, that's slightly different than the other one. That emergency overflow there, I wonder what that is. Oh, it goes out here. Let's see.
When they say chamber, what does that mean? What is this actually?
It's sectioned off. You can see in this one here. It's chambered to slow the flow of the water down. The water comes in there and it goes from chamber to chamber and it starts to break it up and slow it down. These things here.
Okay.
And this allows it to go into the ground.
Yeah. So all that has to operate, has to flow smoothly through that.
It does, yeah.
Distance.
A lot of engineering, and a lot of figuring out, and
Slow.
it's a good way to address it, because it's right under the parking lot, no one sees it, doesn't pick up any faults there, and as long as they have cleanouts, it doesn't show it there, but they have cleanouts in them, and inspection ports in them, so they know if they're going to silt if they aren't supposed to be,
Do they
but
ever
they
have
are.
to flush them out?
They do, yeah, they get a regular jetter to do it.
Wow.
You're doing it today.
And again, details of how the water line details are supposed to be. Again, not really for us, for the engineer.
Care about the lines
Yeah, I think they have a lighting.
on the one before they had just the poles. That was-
Yeah, the detail of the poles and everything. Yeah, they should have some kind of details of everything. Yeah, there they are. Yeah, details of everything should be in here. Contractor. Let's see, long set of plans. But it was a really good set of plans to look at. This is the invert, the sewer manholes, they're all done with brick. That's how it works, it's installed. And it's not a pipe, it's just a half circle, half moon, and that's how it's built. And they're always bricked up, they aren't cemented in. And you can see that's how they, the engineer wants to make a corner, they're gonna make a corner there. And that's how they want them to lay the bricks up. They want them to go that way, and then they want them to go that way. No, these guys, these are fabricated, and then the contractor has a separation line and lay it on that. And it's special brick operation. It's not this ordinary brick. Yeah, below. This is the valve pit, maybe? Pump station over there.
I don't have to worry about anybody.
It's like the regular septic tank is what it is. They're gonna take my pump there now, so specifications on what they're engineers calling for, Google and so on and so forth. You got a line plan. The line plan, I think that's supposed to be.
That's like the ribbons, right?
It is, yeah, it is. Again, it's like the traffic studies and the other things. The other studies they do. It's a lot of information, basically, it's not like a computer program.
Scott, what is this one telling us?
That's our lighting plan. It tells us in lumens of how the light's spreading out through the whole area there, and again.
Seriously?
Yeah, this is way more detailed.
Yeah, they got it.
We should have seen something comparable.
Yeah, and then they just figure out how far the light is. We always ask for one of those, and something to.
I would expect to see something.
You're talking about it's like 3 or 4 stories up.
That's what been ad hoc for it.
No, here on 332 to the
Well, that
industrial
brings us
park,
to
shouldn't we see something that's
That's the
comparable?
last one. Oh.
Yeah, that,
Then we can think about it. And the next time we look at some of these drawings.
is that for those?
Well, from time to time, at a time like this, it's always
Their
very
lighting
low.
plan, that it would be different. from the
Yeah,
residential.
no, you won't forget it.
Versus like a
You want to
for
look
a
at
parking
it.
lot.
Yeah.
That's why they.
And more interesting, you know exactly.
And lights.
So
But we were just talking about just make it complex.
They still can.
Plans.
Yeah.
Because this is taking
We're up
to check out too after.
Yeah.
You can bog them down.
Yeah. And when you're looking at these in the town hall, there are,
SMC.
these came from, I think, Mike Chapman's office.
SMC, but like, it's like 3 or 4 things tall.
It's always good just to grab one, because sometimes you might not know what they are.
And yours on it.
We're one of those rulers that just never work.
I still know one of the first people I ever had, you know what it was?
In,
I had.
a lot of the parking was.
Oh, yeah, I had some.
Remember, that is a computer.
King size.
The manual one.
I'm not sure about
I
that.
had the old one.
Okay, have we covered everything? Want to go over anything, or are we gonna quit?
That was awesome, thank you.
You
So helpful.
He wants an individual tutoring session.
Okay, then.
He's paying $20 an hour.
Well, if there's nothing else from the public, I
I mean,
guess.
shooting off your.
So a motion to adjourn would be in order. Motion to adjourn by Michael York, seconded by Richard. Any further discussion? All those in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye. We're adjourned. All right.
Now, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, give me the names again.
Mr. Chairman, Beverly needs to name again.
It was Richard Lane and Michael York. Is that correct? Thank you.
Festus and have an
Oh.